What a piece of dog. Making a game based off the first Terminator movie had a lot of potential. The movie was like film noir, action, science fiction, and time travel all thrown together into a blender. But the game was like taking that same blender to put cat, horse dump, and pig vomit. Yeah, now that's a shake you don't want. So if you played this game, you're probably traumatized. But don't worry, because now is the time to purge those inner demons, because the battle for the past is going to be fought in the present, right here, right now. Man, that's too dark. Let's just start the game. As far as the plot's concerned, you're not the Terminator, you're Kyle Reese in the future, which seems like the best possible concept. But look at the graphics. This is what you call 8-bit barf. You're jumping around on half-disappeared blocks, Q-tips, and pipes. What is this, Super Mario Brothers? The backgrounds are just a random mishmash of gray bricks. It's so depressing to look at. Am I not mistaken? Wasn't the NES capable of a more versatile color scheme? The top bar is monochrome, it's just black, white, and green. Look at the life meter. The black part's the amount of life you have, and the green is the empty part, which is real confusing because when I look at it, I can't help but feel it should be the other way around. The music is unacceptable. Listen. What do you call that? It's just a 5-second loop that repeats forever. There aren't many sound effects either, so it really fails in the auditory department. If your ears could puke, they would. Now you want to talk about the controls? My God, is it busted. When you try to jump, first he goes into the squat, probably the most delayed jump I've ever seen. The gun is even worse. When you push A, you go into this crouching position. Let's call it gun mode. When you're in this gun mode, A shoots, and up and down on the D-pad controls your aim. So let me put this in a nutshell. You can't shoot when standing, you can't shoot when ducking like normal, and you can't shoot when jumping. It goes against every natural instinct you would have in a side-scrolling shooting game. Did the game designers ever play Contra? Can you imagine how much of a problem it is that you can't shoot while you're jumping? But the nail that seals the coffin is that there's no continues. If you die 3 times, the game starts over. Simple as that. That first level, you better get used to it because you're going to see it a whole hell of a lot. Another big problem, whenever you try to jump on something, you fall through. It is an awe-inspiring joke of legendary bad game design. It's almost as bad as Wizard of Oz. The hit detection is also if you try to shoot something, it goes right through unless you're dead center. This game is like a cheating, spoiled, rotten kid and you have to let it win. For taking out these automated guns, your best bet is to use the grenades. But up till this point, you can only find grenades in the first part in the sewers. After that, once you run out, you're This part here, you're faced with 2 guns at the same time. You can only take them out one by one, so unavoidably you're going to get shot by the other one. No matter how far you get, there's still no continues. To my knowledge, there's no code either, not even for Game Genie, nothing. The only way to beat it is to not up at all, which would be outrageous. However, every time you get 50,000 points, you get an extra life. So fair enough, I'm going to sit here and shoot this again and again till that happens. The enemies respawn, so it's not a problem to stay in one spot and just keep racking up points. The only real sacrifice is that you're going to be doing this for a long time. There we go, extra life. Now I'm going to be real careful because you don't want to lose all that hard work. This slime here, just got to watch out. Oh my. The only hope you have is to spend hours and get as many extra lives as possible. You'll lose them fast, but at least you'd have enough to keep going for a while. But who has the patience to do this? And we're not talking emulators or save states or any of that. We're talking real life, sit in front of your TV, holding the A button. Sounds like fun, right? Yeah, well check it out, I got an idea. Get yourself a wrench or something like this here, and you just clamp it down on the A button, just like that. And there you go. Just sit back and you don't gotta do a damn thing. I'll be back. Look at that, I have 6 lives already. So I'm just going to go to bed, I'm going to come back, and it's going to be all maxed out. Now, isn't that a good idea? Well, guess what? I have an even better idea. How about have some continues? Make me have to put a wrench on a controller? Is that what you want to do with your life? That's senseless. But that's what happens, man. Alright, I'm back. I'm all refreshed, ready to play some more Terminator with all new extra lives. All 6 of them. 6? Only 6? Okay, I gotta be honest. It's only 1 digit. I didn't expect more than 9. But why a random number like 6? That means that some up masochist actually programmed it that way, made a decision, let's see, well anything more than 6, that's too much. The only thing I can think of now is to wait till you die 5 times and do it again. But then all of a sudden you're in a truck getting showered with fireballs. There's little you can do to control the truck, so all that's going to happen, you're just going to die and die and die. You can't hit it either, because your bullets just scatter all over the place. Eventually, you outrun the thing. But next, you're being shot at by some metal tank monstrosity. At this point, you're just taking it in the all that's going to happen, you're going to get shot again and again and again. The next part of the game is just another death trap. Now, do you see what happened? All those extra lives? Gone. And there's still no regular enemies. So I have no hopes of getting any more. If I die, the game's over. But this is the most frustrating thing I've ever seen. The spears don't have any clear pattern. They just pop up at random, so I gotta get lucky. Now look at these platforms. Could they be any smaller? Realizing before how hard it is to make your mark, imagine how insane it is to land dead center on a space that's more narrow than the character itself. If you land on your feet, it doesn't count. You have to land on the empty space in between your feet. Ah, okay, 0 lives. That means I have 1 more chance. Jump. 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 Ah! Too small. Too small. Ah! You're terminated. I can't believe that like that could have been released on the NES as late as 1992. December 1992. By then, Super Nintendo was out. Speaking of which, let's check out its 16-bit counterpart. Thankfully, it's not just a graphical enhancement of the same game. This one's entirely different. I wonder why they recreated the title sequence from the movie, but not used the music. Instead, it's the music from the final battle. That's like if you use the opening Star Wars title, but use different music. So if there's anything these games are missing right off the bat, it's the Terminator theme. Again, you're Kyle Reese, but instead of being in the sewers, you're in the battlefield, just like the flashback scenes in the movie. So we're definitely a step in the right direction. The gunfire is way better. This time you can actually shoot like normal, rather than going into that stupid crouching mode. You can even shoot on the ladders, which is kind of cool. But the only thing that sucks, you can't shoot straight up or toward the ground. There's no other perfect example than the Contra series. You can shoot in any direction you want, and they're still challenging games. But here, you're stuck with all these enemies that you can only hit with grenades. Once you run out of grenades, you're If you're gonna make a game where you can't shoot the ground, don't have enemies that are on the ground. The foreground graphics always get in the way. How is it fair when I can barely see the enemies? And what the are these things anyway? Decepticon? Look, I just hit my head and died. Surprisingly, this game is really hard. Now I can imagine what Kyle Reese and good old Johnny C had to go through. Just running out into a wasteland full of maniacal machines shooting bombs and lasers at you left and right. There's shooting from the sky, on the ground. There's everywhere. You'd get annihilated. Those movies are very unrealistic. There's no way they could have survived. But the time travel concept, that's okay. Look at the bullets. They have no pattern. It's like there's a second player controlling them. Before you have any time to react, Terminators pop out and shoot you. It's not easy to take it slow when your character can do nothing but run. My only strategy is to step and duck. But even then, half the time, I still get hit. I don't get hit that often, but apparently enough to die, and you actually get 5 lives. Once they're gone, you guessed it, no continues. But it doesn't matter because I can't even beat the first stage. It doesn't look that hard, but good lord, it just goes on and on and on. Even with 5 lives and health power-ups, I can't last any further. I got to this truck part, which is still part of the first stage, but this is even worse than the truck stage in the NES version. You can only shoot in 3 directions, which means you can't hit this thing when it goes between. And there's not a damn thing you can do to protect yourself. You can't move, you just keep taking hits from these exploding bowling balls. Finally, it goes away and you're back on foot. After such a long sprint, you think that thing was maybe the boss. But no, how naive. So you keep running this everlasting marathon, shooting and getting shot at you. Eventually, you come to the boss, right? It's certainly big enough to be the boss, and it certainly took long enough to get this far. I'm gonna say it's the boss. Come on, die, die! Yeah, alright, that's it. What now? What? Are you kidding me? Holy mother and holy mackerel, damn, how is it not over yet? How long could this first level possibly go? Unless maybe the whole game is like this. I just can't believe it. So I died, like anybody would. Game over, first level goes on forever, can't beat it, end of story, the game's impossible. Real quick, let's take a look at the Terminator on Sega CD. I already mentioned it in my Sega CD review, but I have to say, looking back, this is a really great improvement over the other ones. There are some annoying things. Like the other games, there's certain directions you can't shoot. This makes it really hard to find a feasible angle to hit your enemies. I don't know why, but only Contra, it seems, got it right. And sometimes it's confusing trying to figure out where to go. It has those unwatchable cutscenes from the movie which characterize the Sega CD. Never would we dream that one day you'd be able to watch videos in better quality on the internet. But you can skip these scenes, and aside from it, the game itself is a pretty good side-scroller. It even has the Terminator theme, as well as some great original music of its own. God, is that awesome! It's a little better than the NES version, don't you think? From here on out, things can only get better. The second movie was even better than the first, so we can assume that's the same for the games. I believe there's a light at the end of this tunnel. We've made it through the storm, and at the end of the storm is a rainbow. Oh no. The movie Terminator 2 is a possible candidate for the best sequel of all time and best film in the action sci-fi genre. Any way you look at it, it's a masterpiece. Naturally, video games feeding off its success started popping up all over the place. The one most people were familiar with was the arcade shoot-'em-up by Midway. It was ported to the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. The gameplay is just as mindless as ever. Move the cursor around the screen and shoot everything in sight, except for your comrades who just get in your damn way. You know, I wasn't aware they made Terminators in gold. Fighting the boss is the most redundant thing of all. It takes more bullets than anything you'll ever see. All you do is shoot, shoot, shoot. In the Genesis version, it looks like Rob the Robot. Otherwise, it's basically the same game, but with slight changes. Some of the sound effects are better. In the Super NES version, when the soldiers get hit, they yell no, which is stupid. But in the Genesis version, they just scream. Big improvement. But some of the animation is lacking. Look at the barrels. The flames don't even move. Unlike the Super NES version, you get items on the first stage. They come in what looks like a little fridge, and it seems they never run out. How many items could there possibly be in this one little box? The worst part is where you have to protect John Connor. All that happens, he gets killed, and you lose. It's a senseless game, but it was a novelty at the time. The home consoles tried to take advantage of it, with the Super Scope and the Sega Menacer. But the only real way to play it was in the arcade. It was even ported on Game Boy. Now that is pathetic. Now for Terminator 2 on NES. It's all about that little rainbow of death. I swear I don't even plan this. It just so happens that LJN holds the monopoly on games. They were also behind every home console version of Terminator 2, even the arcade ports. LJN proudly presents, oh I bet. Now this of course begins an alternate series of Terminator 2 games that differ from the arcade version. Level 1, you're the Terminator going around at a truck stop punching people. It's just a monotonous button masher, and it takes so many punches to put them down. All you want to do is run past them. But you can't do that, because guess what? The whole objective of this stage is to punch everybody out. The sound effects suck. It's just boom, boom, boom. There's no difference to when you're punching the air and when you're hitting someone. Couldn't there be at least 2 distinct sound effects? Oh god, this takes forever. When you're in between them, you keep getting hit. But even if you keep them all on the side, they all bunch together and still you take a lot of hits. It's the first part of the game and already I'm sick of it. Then you go in the tavern like the first scene in the movie. Once again, you gotta punch everybody out. They keep coming out from under the bar. How many guys are back there? Then you come to the boss. Now who is this guy? He's taller than you, and aren't you supposed to be the Terminator? Arnold Schwarzenegger? It does tend to underestimate the hugeness, doesn't it? Look, I'm dead. He just took out a Terminator, a machine, with his bare fists. This is absurd. If I crouch down, he can't hit me, so I can just punch him all I want. But it goes on forever. In fact, I don't think this hurts him. So why have the character in the game act like he's getting hurt when he's clearly not? Looks like I'm off. He can be killed, but it just takes a little patience. Level 2. This is the only stage where you're on the motorcycle. One thing you need to know, you gotta shoot the gate to open it, otherwise you just crash. Even after the fact, you can still hit the wall, unless you're perfect. It reminds me of Bart vs. the World when you're on the Great Wall of China. Hate that. But the most annoying thing is the truck. It keeps coming up from the bottom of the screen and it sucks you toward it. Like, what does it have, a magnet on the front? The first time I played this, I had no idea what you're supposed to do. I figured you'd have to accelerate, but couldn't find any way to do so. Turns out you can shoot back, so all you gotta do is shoot the truck, and then it like bounces you forward again. But trying to shoot the truck and pay attention to all the other stuff at the same time is really frustrating. Then you rescue John Connor, and he makes you swear not to kill anyone. So here comes level 3. You're going around the hospital trying to rescue Sarah. You're not allowed to shoot anyone unless it's in the legs, which is simple, but it makes you feel foolish having to duck all the time. I mean, this is the first side-scrolling stage where you have the gun, and you can't kill anyone. Level 4, you're in Cyberdyne on a mission to blow the place up. You go around collecting bombs, which look like, I don't know, a headless chicken holding a dead rat. What, you don't see it? No, I don't know. You take all the bombs and deposit them into this thingam, And you think that's it, right? No, you take the bombs back out and lay them in designated spots. Okay, well, what was the point? Why couldn't you just collect the bombs and put them where they go? I can only imagine what they were thinking. Duh, you put these bombs in this thing? Alright, what next? How about you take them back out and you put them somewhere else? It's treating us like a dog. Go get the ball, bring it back, go get it again. Quads. Level 5 is a nightmare. Everywhere you go, you gotta jump on moving platforms. Your accuracy better be perfect or else you're dead. It's next to impossible. It teases you by thinking the chain's gonna go lower, but it doesn't. It's as wide of a jump as possible, and the platform doesn't even stay down long enough. You only get 1 microsecond to hit your mark, and there's a fireball. So this jump is one of the most grueling things you could ever accomplish in your life. There's another jump that seems to have a glitch or something. Like, come on, that killed me? I landed on the pipe, not the lava. Well then, if landing on the pipe kills me, why can't it just look the same as the lava? And what about this right here? That's not a platform? Well then why the does it look like a platform? There's some serious issues here. At last, you fight the T-1000 with your fists. Unless you still have some ammo left over from Cyberdyne, that's because there's no ammo on this stage. Not at all. So if you're down to your bare hands, then that's all you're gonna get. If anything, they should have a whole stockpile of ammo to get you ready, because it's the final battle. If you look at a game, say from the Castlevania series, right before you get to Dracula, there's a spot where you can load up your supply of items. It's secretive, yeah, but it's there. Even the main corridor has some weapons. But here, you don't get a damn thing. Once you push the T-1000 in the lava, you've won. Then you see the final cutscene. It seems they hit all the key scenes in the movie, which is nice, but why they left out the Terminator theme still perplexes me. Next we have Terminator 2 on Game Boy. For a portable console, there's not much to complain about as far as graphics go. In fact, it's pretty well done. You play as John Connor in the future, fighting your way to Skynet. The first stage seems simple enough until you reach the laser barrier at the end. So naturally you walk back to the left trying to figure out what to do. Then you find out you can shoot these towers. So I take them all down and still we have a barrier. Turns out you gotta shoot the towers in order from tallest to shortest. What a load of random bull. The second level you're in Skynet. It's more self-explanatory, but these bombs on the floor are such a pain in the I can't shoot them and I can't jump over them either. Oh, and guess what? You know how most of these games you have 3 lives and no continues? Well here, you get only 1. That's it. You die once and the game's over. The thought of making it through the entire game without dying once is ludicrous. At the end of the second stage, you have to reprogram the Terminator. Okay, is this how John Connor did it? I never thought this part of the story would make it into the game. Basically, you have to mend the wires together so the electric currents go the right way. But you have a time limit, and it always seems to end right when you start to figure out what you're doing. You can't even pause the game to look at it because the screen goes blank. At least you get a second chance here, but 2 ups and you're done. One last game, thank Terminator 2 on Super Nintendo. And does it have the Terminator theme? No, of course not. Well, it's sort of a crappy remix version. How the hell did they make so many Terminator games and not have the theme? The only one I've seen that has it is the Sega CD version. If you watch the demo, it shows a naked Arnold walking into the bar, and they censor him Austin Powers style. Now that's funny. Once you hit start, it bypasses this whole scene. Right away, you have your clothes on and you're going around punching people. All I can say is, my God, the control is so bad. It's so stiff and you can't punch anyone when they're too close. But check out the jump. What is that good for? It's like he's a marionette or he's being hanged by an invisible rope. Like, holy Lord, that is some right there. Look at him go. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, God. I can't see the reasoning behind it. You can't make something that funny by accident. They took somebody as badass as the Terminator and made him into a mockery. It's a joke. And I'm not just doing this to be funny. It's because of how slow he walks. The only way to go any faster is to hop around like a idiot. Unlike the NES version, the goal isn't to knock everybody out because they're never ending. In fact, that could be a good joke to play on someone, like, hey, give it a try, kill all the guys, I dare you. They'll be playing forever. The goal is to find a pistol and a shotgun, but that's not all. You need to find John Connor's phone number, but that's still not enough. You need to collect future objects. I don't know what the hell these are supposed to be, but they look like little coolers or first aid kits. I don't remember them from the movie, so why is it so necessary to include them in the game? Now, unless you played the game before, you probably assume that once you uncover these objects, you've collected them. But no, you're supposed to aim your gun and shoot them. Now look at your itinerary. It says collect future objects. So unless your idea of collecting objects is to blow the everlasting out of them, shouldn't it say destroy future objects? One thing I find amusing is that everything in this bar blows up for no apparent reason. And you can even attack the waitress. Any sane human being would shut off the game before even completing the first stage. But I tried my best to persevere, and what I found next was this. That little motorcycle, believe it or not, that's you. You can't tell it apart from the others. The first time I got to this stage, I died before I even had the chance to figure out what was going on. Oh yeah, and by the way, one life. Yep, die once, and it's all over. They really stuck to that format, didn't they? Play the whole game in one go. It's unthinkable. Oh man, a head-on collision with a truck and a motorcycle, and the truck explodes. Now let me tell you, I still don't understand how to control this. The main problem being that I can't figure out how to turn. It has something to do with holding the D-pad and the Y button, but I can't get the feel for it. Without even hesitating, I can honestly say this is the absolute worst driving stage I have ever played. Roger Rabbit was bad, Dick Tracy was horrible, and at the time I thought that one was the worst, but now that I've played this, just wow, it takes the cake. That's as far as I can make it, and that's about all the Terminator games I have to play. In conclusion, the Grand Rotten Turkey Award goes to this. Out of all the Terminator games I've played, this has got to be the worst. Because you got to take into consideration the limitations of the NES and the capabilities of the Super NES. Wouldn't you think the Super NES version would be best by far? Not only that, but it's the sequel, so there's no excuse why it shouldn't have been better. So do yourself a favor and never ever play this game, because there's no fate but what you make for yourself. Choose the right fate and terminate this son of a Goodbye, baby.